oh boy, I'm not late. You're late. We're only a minute late, and we're totally great. Hey, how you doing, bud? Welcome back to the Hat and Beard Show. It is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Boy, bucko. Where did February go? We are on the cusp of the NFL Combine, which, if you're like me, I'm a big old fan of the Underwear Olympics because it is a little bit of a filler material for us, not only for content creation, but kind of bridges the gap between the end of the NFL season, the start of the UFL season, or as I like to call it, football methadone. It does give us a little bit of a filler thing and more things to talk about, and we have plenty to talk about today. All right, we got loads of information, mostly focused around the Detroit Lions, because as the Combine kicks off, we will be talking about all the media sessions that the coaching staff had. A lot of clarity, as well as information coming out about a veteran player for the Detroit Lions. So you're going to want to stick around for that. It's almost the inverse of Frank the Tank last year. Now we kind of can. I don't think we're really going to be speculating too terribly much when it comes down to draft positioning, free agent moves, and what the Lions can look to do realistically. But we will discuss, as far as the NFL is concerned, NFL free agency, 4 free agent fits, and 2 trades that should happen, according to Nick Shook over at NFL.com. We'll then going to go rolling down to the pod, Pride of Detroit, to talk about Kerby Joseph's knee. We're going to stick at the Pride of Detroit to talk about Taylor Decker and his announcement of staying in Detroit for at least one more year. He refuses to go away. Retirement not in the cards for him. Nope, an 11th season in the NFL. Everything the Lions said about their offensive line plans at the NFL Combine, because Brad and Dan both spoke to the press. Let's go ahead and get this on pause here. I don't need to get no copyright claimed or nothing like that. 5 takeaways from Dan Campbell's Combine media session, and then 6 takeaways from Lil Spud and Kelvin Shepard's media sessions at the NFL Combine. So a lot to cover today, guys. We're going to be putting in some work and getting through it. Good morning, everybody. My mom's here. My dad's here. How you doing, Dad? Rick's hanging out. Jack's hanging out. How you doing, Jack? Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody out here. If you want to partake in the chat, don't forget you got to be a subscriber to the channel. It is a very small barrier to entry with a relatively high return on investment. You're going to want to turn that notification bell on so you can be notified every single time we go live Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. right here at youtube.com. Then you're going to want to as well like the video and share this content around with every single person that you want to know. If you don't know anybody, just copy this link down on your clipboard. It's relatively easy, and every single time you do it, it counts as a share. Now that all that is out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the show.
If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
All right, guys, before we get into it, I think I stumped some of you on my reference about the sheriff is near. So in case you're wondering, this is...
sheriff's coming! Ring out the church bells! Strike up the band! Hey! The sheriff is near! What did he say? The sheriff is near! No, God blame it, dang blame it! The sheriff is near! As chairman of the Welcoming Committee, it is my privilege to extend a laurel and hearty handshake to our new nigger.
Bro. Oh, man.
Excuse me while I whip this out. By the power vested in me by the Honorable William J. LaPetitmain, I hereby assume the duties of the office of sheriff in and for the township of Rockridge.
Gentlemen, let us not allow anger to rule the day. As your spiritual leader, I implore you to pay heed to this good book and what it has to say.
Oh, man. In case you guys didn't know, that's what that reference was from. When I was saying the sheriff is near. Yeah, dude, gun guy, you gotta... Excuse me while I whip this out real quick. Yo. Oh, man. Yeah, Mom, your teenage years did have the best movies, yo. With Decker coming back, I really like... Max Finkel-Einhorn in the second. Yes, actually, Brent, we will get to that, dude, because I do really think, guys, I think that if we go the route of defense in the first round, okay, depending, and this is a huge depending, if there's a world where A.J. Halkey falls to us in the second round, I'm going to have a hard time not going offensive or going, not going A.J. Halkey and going offensive line. But I think what we see now, dude, is an absolute just paved the way. We're going left tackle, or we're going tackle in the second round. Now this just like with Decker returning, it is pretty much wide open for us to just go defense, whatever we want, end, corner, the linebacker if it's Sonny Styles in the first round, and then you just attack the trenches in the mid rounds. You know what I'm saying, dude? All day, every day. But before we do that, guys, let's talk about NFL free agency. We got to appease the algorithmic overlords. And what would they like to see over here at NFL Network? Well, at NFL.com, they'd like to see Malik Willis to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have spent 2 seasons living in the short-term world of mercenary solutions at the game's most important position. I beg to differ. We all know that the most important position is the backup long snapper. While Aaron Diddly-Doo Rodgers could be convinced to return for one more season under a coach he knows intimately. Ooh, Mike McCarthy. It's also time for Pittsburgh to commit to a plan with a longer runway. GM Omar Khan said Wednesday. Yes, well, they tried that once with Kenny Pickett. That's where Willis enters the picture. Green Bay snagged Willis in a low-buzz trade with the Titans in 2024, and he did an exceptional job of cultivating his talents and transforming him into a plus backup with starter potential, although his sample size is limited and could lead to a desperate team to overpay for his services. Yes, I think that's what will happen. Willis appears he has proven he can succeed in an offense tailored to his strengths. I think that is probably the route that Pittsburgh should go, is they go after a guy like a Malik Willis, or honestly, I could really see Pittsburgh doing the coach killer thing and going out and trading for old Kyler Buttface Murray. However, Pittsburgh has a boatload of draft picks. They got a ton of draft picks, so they can do pretty much whatever they want. Oh, they want to see Kenneth Walker go to Houston. No big surprise there. I've talked about that numerous times. Kenneth Walker can flex not only the increased workload that he was shown to be able to handle in the playoff run with Charbonnet going down. On top of that, he can flex the value increase to the running back position as we see Gibbs and Bijan about to break NFL records, Saquon setting NFL records, plus the usage of running backs now in today's NFL, which again, I point to the Detroit Lions being one of the focal teams, the lead candidates that really helped rejuvenate that uptick in usage and reliance upon the running game. Also, he has the Super Bowl MVP that should add a couple million to his contract every year. This is the point where Kenneth Walker can go and get his generational wealth, get the big bag. Go to Houston. Houston, I've said numerous times, they do have some talent at running back, but Kenneth Walker going to Houston makes C.J. Stroud's job so much easier, dude. And then you pair a proven asset running back with what is a very, very talented defense, especially led by the likes of Will Anderson Jr., a very talented young defensive end with great game-breaking potential. I think Kenneth Walker to Houston makes the most sense. I've talked about it numerous times. Trey Hendrickson to Baltimore. Okay, that's it's a fun thought exercise. Baltimore, of course, having the new regime there, the post-John Harbaugh era. Trey Hendrickson, a proven asset, a divisional asset that could come to kind of stick it in the eye of the annual middling at best, bottoming at worst Cincinnati Bumbles, led by their grossly overpaid trio of offensive talent, though I do think Joe Burrow is a very talented quarterback. The Browns, Isaac Samulo, we're not going to worry about that too much. Then some trades that they'd like to see. I think I've actually talked about this before. A.J. Brown going to a team like Buffalo makes a lot of sense. If you're tired of hearing about the annual drama involving Brown and the Eagles, just imagine how Philadelphia might feel. Is trading Brown a smart move? Absolutely not. GM Howie Roseman said it best after the trade deadline passed in November. You don't get rid of guys like that. But his relationship sure feels like it's headed towards a divorce, even after the Eagles fired offensive coordinator Kevin Butt Smello Patello. If so, the Eagles won't have a hard time finding interested trade partners. They might be able to extend the most value from a team like the Bills, who have desperately needed a top receiver since they sent Stephon Diggs to Houston. The other thing I thought of while we were at it right here was if you were to look at what Howie Roseman said, you don't get rid of a guy like that, but you do trade a talent like that for a talent similar to that. If you do want to get out of the A.J. Brown drama, it might cost you some draft capital, and you then do bring in another basket case. But could it not be that outlandish to see a A.J. Brown and the rights to a Brandon Ayuk be traded with some draft capital to kind of offset the salary cap situation between both players? It gives both guys a new restart. But unfortunately, you then start to see a guy like A.J. Brown starting to go down this Steph Diggs douchebag and tomfoolery, multiple teams after drama. Not really the type of player that I'm interested in. However, the talent does speak for himself. A.J. Brown is a dominant wide receiver. Age 29, still probably can crush it into age 22, 23. 1,000 yards over the next 4 years. Or every year over the next 4 years is totally viable if in the right situation. Don't pass, though, on a team coming kind of out of nowhere. Now, Buffalo, yeah, it does make sense. Josh Allen does need an asset there. But wouldn't it kind of make sense if a team like Carolina could go after a guy like A.J. Brown, maybe some low investment draft capital? You then pair a top end, not aging, but veteran wide receiver with an emerging rookie of the year talent in Tet McMillan. It then also alleviates a bunch of the workload between the two and gives a young, albeit turning it around, quarterback Bryce Young more options and availability to go on that route. Something that I just kind of thought of while we were having this thought exercise, not something that I know is going to happen. Kyler Murray could potentially go to the Miami Dolphins, as both player and franchise here are looking for fresh restarts. They've written about it once, and he'll double down because it makes so much sense on paper. Arizona seems interested in moving on from Murray at quarterback. Essentially soft bench in favor of Jacoby Brissett last season. The move was certainly justifiable. Arizona's offense became a more productive unit with Brissett in the lineup, an admission that's damning for those in Murray's camp. Murray might also want a change of scenery, especially if the Cardinals wiped out the coaching staff in favor of yet another new regime. However, all I'm saying is that it does kind of indicate that maybe it's Kyler Murray that might be the situation here, causing the coaching changes. And it is, as a Lions fan, a nice indicator to see that the offense upticked when we see the Arizona Cardinals use a quarterback with a skill set slightly more similar to that of a Jared Goff, JG16 for MVP, over a guy like a Kyler Murray, you know what I'm saying? And Miami is already aiming to move on from Tua, creating a dire need at the position for the Dolphins. Why not buy relatively low on Murray with hopes he becomes a long-term answer? There's no guarantee the fit ends up working out, but at this stage, neither team has all that much to lose from such a deal. In fact, let's take a step further. Trade one for the other, straight up. If you want to toss in a pick or two to make it more interesting, level out the compensation comparison and get the deal done. That works too. Plus, it'll give us plenty to talk about in the spring and summer. Why not? Why not? I kind of said that with the contract between, especially with a guy like a Tua, you're going to have to end up unloading a player just to make way for the contract that comes in with Tua. Kyler Murray also kind of in that same boat. So a 1-to-1 swap like that, I've said a situation with maybe like a Dak Prescott, but yeah, the dollars, if memory recalls, which memory's not the best, but yeah, that seems to be probably one of the best type situation and deals you could possibly think of for both players involved. How are we feeling, Mad Hatter Nation, dude? Frank, here we go. Sorry, guys. Blazing Saddles, yes, sir. The role was supposed to be played by Richard Pryor, and he helped write his jokes. No shit. That makes a lot of sense because those jokes are very Pryor-esque. Also, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, I know that they weren't like officially like a comedy duo per se, but just next level joke writing, hilarity, just hilarity. You know what I'm saying? Frank coming back with Decker, fingers crossed. Gun guy, I don't think Frank's gonna come back, dude. I don't think so. I'm absolutely not counting on Frank coming back. He would be cool, but no one in the Lions organization thinks it's happening. I don't think so either, simply because, like I've said before, he was like, I feel the greatest I've ever felt. I'm ready to come back, and they were like, dude, your hamstring's hanging on by a fucking cunt hair. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, just let Frank enjoy retirement. You know what I'm saying? Frank was coming back. It would have made more sense to Lions to sign him and put him on IR to fix his hamstring. Instead, he went fishing. There you go, Jack. 100% he ain't coming back. I have a prediction. Kyler Murray goes to the Jets and gets AG fired. I feel bad because I don't see AG getting a decent QB this year. He probably won't get one next year. Oh, yeah. Well, this isn't the best free agent draft class. And it isn't the best, or the free agent class, and this isn't the best draft class, really, to go out and get a quarterback when you are in a position like the New York Jets are in, where you have needs everywhere. They do have quite a few picks, right? And you could leverage that to make some moves, but if you're going to try trading for a guy like a Kyler, you're eating a huge salary cap. And I just don't think Kyler is that great, dude. I think he's a great athlete, but I just don't think he's all that great at the quarterback position. We drafted a Hawaiian linebacker no one had heard of. Yeah, dude. Bro. I thought you said he wasn't coming back. Were you wrong? Who? Taylor Decker? I assumed he wasn't coming back, so yeah, I was wrong. I kind of figured he wasn't coming back just based on, like, all indicators, the amount of time that he would miss, games that he missed, and just like the amount, when you really look at the surgeries that he's had and stuff, and the amount, I was like, I felt that he wouldn't be coming back. But, I also thought that last year I thought that last year we were going to see an inverse of what happened this year, where I kind of thought last year we would see Decker retire and Ragnow kind of gut it out and then retire this year. But, I was wrong there too. It makes sense, or it happens. No, it makes sense. No one eats a ton of money from moving to bring in bigger money. Pitt and Murray. Yeah, dude. I take half of Frank over Glasgow. Yeah, dude. For real. I like Glasgow just wasn't it, and we all knew he wasn't gonna be it, dude. I think we were hoping for better than what we got, but I think deep down we all knew he wasn't gonna be it. Frank didn't have a fully shredded ham. He would have been on crutches. Well, yeah. That's true, dude. But still, I mean, it was still like a grade 3 hamstring pull, which is basically like barely hanging on. I wanted the Jets to trade us 33 and 46 or 17. We would win the trade by a third rounder, but it's a far fall. Oh yeah, Brent, I'm not gonna take 33 and 46 for 17. I'll take 33, 46, and next year's first rounder for 17. You know what I mean? I can't give up a plus 20 first round pick and not get in exchange, either this year's first round or next year's first round in a plethora of second and third round picks this year. I know that I'm kind of doing the same thing that everybody else does, where I'm a little maybe overvaluing that of a first rounder. But if you can flex the capital, then flex the capital to get the capital. You know what I'm saying? Pryor didn't get Blazing Saddles job because the studio couldn't get any company to sign an insurance. Well, it's because the old struck match. You know? Falcons, yeah. The Falcons are releasing Kirk Cousins. The Jets could go after him, Jack. But we did read an article, I don't want to say a week or two ago, that kind of indicated that Kirk Cousins was going to be released, but it was going to be a release and sign right back to Atlanta to clear a bunch of money off the cap, but still maintain that backup quarterback position. Personally, post Achilles injury, I really don't. I think it's time for Kirk to follow suit with Matt Ryan and transition into the booth. I don't think he's really. I don't know if it's worth it. You know what I mean? Now maybe he just wants to get that bag. That's, I guess, fine. That's not my decision, but I don't know if I'd be willing to, go at it. And if the Falcons really, I don't know if they'd be willing to go after him. You know what I mean? In a re-sign. Obviously they cleared a bunch of money off the cap, but he's still going to demand a veteran minimum. And I don't follow the Falcons enough to know really what's going on in their in-house to know what they need to do. But what I do know is that the Lions got a little bit of clarity on Kerby Joseph, and this is something that we are going to be monitoring all offseason long. Now, indicators could be laid out before us of the reality of both him and Brian Branch. If the Lions are really aggressive and go after a top-flight safety in free agency or the draft, well, I think that's a pretty clear indicator of what's going on, right? But we do have Thomas Harper, who graded out as the number 11th safety in the NFL, still on a rookie scale contract, and he's here for 2 more years. So that does give us a little bit of breathing room. Avonte Maddox graded out as the number 9 safety in the NFL, and both these grading scales are based off of PFF. Okay, so both guys are there. Avonte Maddox is poised to be a free agent, and he could use them numbers to kind of flex his way to get a little bit more money. He is on the back end of his career. Kerby Joseph's knee, though, something to keep an eye on. I would like to maybe see us go after a safety in the second round, or trade back in the first round, back down line to 25, 22, 25-ish. Pick up a third rounder and maybe use that to address a little bit of the safety spot. But we will see. We will see. But right now we do have a little bit of news, and it's worth talking about because I think it's the most news that we've had on Kerby Joseph. Down at the NFL Combine, the Lions offered more updates on the health and safety of Kerby Joseph. As we know, he missed a bunch of games in 25 due to that knee injury. The Lions are unwilling to state their level of confidence in Joseph being ready to go in 2026. That is not what I would call comforting. It's tough to say. Quote, it's tough to say. We've been treating him. We've done a few things wherein I would say the position now to where we're slowly working him back, Campbell said. What is it going to look like? How is it going to feel? Call it a month from now, we'll have a better idea. Is this something where he's going to be able to handle what he's going to feel like? Or can we get it stable enough? Or can we get enough strength? It's all of those things. The strength thing is that if he's actively losing strength in the knee, it sounds like some type of a degenerative situation. Is that what I'm not a doctor, clearly, let alone a OBGYN or a gynecologist or whatever it is that focuses on the knee or works on, last I knew your prostate's in your neck. So I don't know why people have been letting doctors stick their finger up their butt to check their prostate, but I was told that your prostate's in your neck. I'm just kidding. If he's losing strength in the knee, that sounds kind of degenerative, like it's going to be a compounding situation. Am I reading that wrong, guys? Quote, I don't think it's necessarily going away, but I think you do the best you can to manage it. It's like a lot of these guys, they've got some injuries here or dealing with cartilage or meniscus or anything like that. You do your best to manage it. There'll always be a little wear and tear. It's just how bad is it? And Joseph said himself, you don't fix it. Just keep your faith. That's not a good indicator. Cost him the final 11 games of the season. At one point, he attempted to return with a heavy brace on his leg, but after just one practice, he was back on the sideline and eventually placed on IR. This has allowed him to speculate that the injury is career-altering, a stance refuted by a single report from Jordan Schultz. But if we're being honest, the conversation about the injury from both the Lions and Joseph himself has been discouraging at every moment. Hopefully, when the Lions supposedly get more clarity in a month or two, the news will be more positive. Yeah, damn. You guys, am I wrong for not feeling very confident about this? Am I wrong that is just like kind of a little bit of a gut punch? Said Decker would be back no matter what his body was telling him. Brent DeWitt, you are correct, dude. You did say Decker would be back, dude. You did. You actually did call it. I believe if we would have beaten Green Bay on Thanksgiving, that Frank's hamstring would have been a grade 1. Art, yeah, Art, you might be on to something there, bud. You might be on to something, bud. Yeah, dude, you could be on to something. I would call Kirby's upgrade a non-update. We were in the same place 6 months ago. Yeah, Brent Lighton, correct. Not an update at all. Put on by fan Trisme Thornton. You never go full Dan Thornton. Let's Talk Live is put. Who's Dan Thornton? I don't know who Dan Thornton is, man. My bad. Fat thumbs can't spell right, and I'm not wearing my glasses. Oh, it's all good, dude. You are totally all right, man. I got fat eyes that can't read right, dude. So you're golden. So as we previously briefly discussed, Taylor Decker announced he will be returning for the Lions 2026 season, his 11th year in the NFL. Please slap the share button and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. The Lions tackle Taylor Decker is returning for his 11th season. He appeared to announce on Instagram on Tuesday afternoon he'll be returning for the team in 2026. Decker posted on Instagram a photo of himself coming out in Ford Field at the tunnel. The caption with the update, "Whom shall I send? Whom will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am. Send me." #year 11. That's dude, he's been through it. And look, man, I really, really hope that Taylor Decker is good to go, right? I don't have any ill will towards Taylor Decker. I mean, yeah, he played at the Ohio State University, whatever. He's infinitely and always will be better than Jeff Amabakis ever could have been. You know what I'm saying? And he's done a magnificent job, all things considered, in his career. Has he been the best left tackle in the history of the game? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. Has he been better than probably projected or what his career trajectory would have been 90% of the time for a Lions player? 100% yes. He could have been Gosder Chairless, right? Right? There's a name for you. Gosder. Dude, when the Lions drafted Gosder, my name on StarCraft, I changed to Go Gosder. Good old Gosder Chairless. But he's performed better than a guy like Gosder Chairless. Is he, Joe Thomas? No. I don't think the expectation ever was for him to be Joe Thomas, though. So I'm glad he's coming back. I am, for numerous reasons. One, familiarity with the organization. We know what we're getting. Hopefully we get better than what we've seen last year, right? Now, this then also gives us much more clarity for us to speculate in the muddy pond of the NFL draft and offseason, because now we can try to lean more into what we think will happen in the draft. We can kind of go, okay, look, there is now no necessity to get incredibly aggressive, unfortunately, for a guy like Spencer Fano, even though I do think he is, by all indicators, a projected generational talent, okay? There's no reason for us to get real aggressive for a guy like that. We can kind of sit back now and not go after left tackle, see who falls to us in the draft. This is where, just the other day when we did our mock draft, a guy like Sonny Styles falls to us at 17. Do you really risk trading out, or do you take a guy like a Sonny Styles? You know what I'm saying? It paves much more of a way for clarity in what we can do in the draft and gives us a little bit, at least on my end, more weight behind our decisions and when we speculate and do mock drafts. You know what I'm saying? So I am glad, not only from a talent perspective, but also from a projection into the future, what the Lions can do this offseason, what we can kind of start to now, instead of casting a wide net, we can kind of bring that net in a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Focalize more on a player or two. I believe it was Brent Lighton, I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, said that, this now it's just like, okay, now we can go, look, Keldrick Falk in the first round, right? We're not clamoring, pounding our fist for a tackle in the first round. But, if Max Finkel-Einhorn is there in the second round, oh, well, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. This just, I think, opens up a lot more flexibility in the draft while also bringing in the focalization of what we're trying to do. It broadens and narrows our perspective at the same time, if that makes sense. It's both scary and exciting, as my welding instructor used to say. The reason why Taylor Decker's coming back from is because Frank Ragnow could come back. No shit. Okay, well, shout out Detroit Sports Talk. Where to go? Gonna go ahead and pin that, brother. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you, my guy. Kirby's knee sounds worse than Decker's shoulders. Lions have to get a safety and OT. We can step in. Yes, exactly. Aside of Williams, Decker is better than any free agent left tackle out there. Goff is doing cartwheels. 100%. 100%, Brent. And Brent DeWitt, it does sound like the 49ers are in very strong negotiations to restructure Trent Williams and keep him in-house. Styles Flores, the draft is 12 at Dallas. No fucking way he falls. I put money on that. You're probably right, Brent. I'm kind of... And you'll find that as the weeks go on, I get really high on players as we kind of break it down, right? So, 2 weeks ago, I was doing backflips about Keldrick Folk, right? And I still am very high on Keldrick Folk. But knowing that we're probably not going to re-sign Anal Zone, that the Lions do need to transition into out-of-base defense, bring in a nickel corner. Now, ideally, that'd be a guy like a Brian Branch. But you look at a dude like a Sonny Styles, a converted safety to linebacker with real good ball cover skills, but also the weight and aggressiveness to play in the run game at the linebacker spot. I think a player like that offers enough versatility for an organization like the Lions, who are either trying to hybridize or transition into a new form of defense out of base defense so much. I think a guy like a Sonny Styles really nails that. So I, got pretty high on him, and then just in this mock draft, he fell to us at 17, So I couldn't realistically lay out an argument 10 minutes prior, have him fall to us, and then not take him. You know what I'm saying? So, like, this week, I'm very high on Sonny Styles, Post the combine, on Monday next week, I'm going to be doing fucking backflips over somebody else. You know what I'm saying, brother? Watch Finkel Einhorn Senior Bowl tape. We're getting there, dude. I'm very high on Finkel Einhorn, dude. I am very, 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 very high on Finkel Einhorn, dude. I think that is a sneaky round 2 spot that we can. I think the Lions going offensive line in the second round, regardless of player. Although right now I'm very high on Finkel Einhorn, that doesn't take anything away from a guy like Jake Slaughter. You know what I'm saying? Where if we go with a guy like Jake Slaughter, knowing that we have the left tackle there, we can plug in a instant day one starter at the center, a natural born center, and then we don't have to worry about a transition into a Tater Ratledge or going after someone in free agency. Unfortunately, then you then have to look for your hybrid swing tackle in the post third round, which gets a little bit thinner. You're going to miss out on a guy like a Jennings Dunker. I'm pretty high on Gunter Dunker. You know what I'm saying? But again, kind of sees who falls there. But I do like the route or the idea of getting Max Finkel Einhorn in the second round. I just think the second round now is pretty much set in stone. That's where you're going to get the next big body, the next day one starter at center, possibly at guard if Ratledge continues and wants to transition to center, or even your next heir apparent to the tackle / starting swing tackle, if that makes sense. Because I do think you need to have role players on offense. I think that the sixth man on the offensive line, the swing tackle, is someone who needs to be starter grade. I think that when you get into it, you start to break it down into an NBA lineup type situation. Having that sixth man is incredibly important, Do not pin anything from retard Dan Thornton, bro. Lions Talk Live is a joke. I mean, that's fair, dude, but Detroit Sports Talk is my guy, though. Detroit Sports Talk is my guy, bro. Brent, Brent, you're kind of new here, dude. Yo, Detroit Sports Talk is my guy, dude. He crushes it. Normally we do Sunday morning live streams before the game where I place bets and stuff, dude. And my guy, Detroit Sports Talk, is like fucking like a beat reporter, dude. Like, for real, he crushes it, dude. Detroit Sports Talk crushes it. So that's why I like to pin his stuff, dude. He's my guy. That's my guy, bro. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it, Brandy. Thank you so much. Yeah, check me out on Twitter if you guys want, where you can hear my hard-hitting takes on the bright ideas that come out of light bulb heads. We get a little bit more political over there on the Twitter side of things, where I can be a little bit more free speech oriented. Or I guess X. I'm sorry, X. I'll always call it Twitter. Sorry, Elon. So, what to do? Speaking of offensive line, boys and girls, what do we do? Everything the Lions said about their offensive line plans at the Combine Brad and Dan, our homeboys, our thumbnail fellas. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's 17 of you in the chat. Let's get them likes up to, we get a couple more likes on this bad boy. 14 of you, there we go. During the individual press conference at the Combine on Tuesday, both GM Brad Holmes and Motor City Dan Campbell addressed the offensive line extensively. Here's a recap of their biggest points on the offensive line. And real quick, I would like us, if you notice, I generally do kind of lean into the MCDC thing. I think the line, I think we should kind of keep that momentum, dude. Keep that spirit. I think the more we continue to call Dan Campbell Motor City Dan Campbell, the more we maintain that identity, that grittiness that we had, dude. You know what I'm saying? We got too much into the Sonic and Knuckles thing, dude. Which is fun, but kind of gay. Lions plan on attacking tackle depth regardless of Taylor Decker's retirement. As pointed out earlier in the article, Holmes noted they are seeking clarity on Decker's retirement. Yes, we are, but this was before Decker announced his retirement, right? So they still will be looking for depth because as much as he loves Deck, Dan loves Deck. He's got some things that are going to need some management, and that's kind of where we're at. So one way or another, we're going to need somebody who can play over there left tackle. If we need them in a crunch, or if we need them as a starter. Now, let us not forget, we do still have the Motor City Yeti and Giovanni Manu. Manu Ginobili. Giovanni Manu. Damn it, I've been doing so well on not calling him Manu Ginobili. It's been almost a year that I haven't messed up and called Giovanni Manu Manu Ginobili. But there I just went and did it. Giovanni Manu. And he still could turn into something. And shout out real quick, he has been doing a bunch of work with the like American Samoan people and shit like that. He's been building schools and stuff, so shout out him. Tater Ratledge at center is still on the table. When we last talked to Holmes, he said that's going into his second season. Ratledge could certainly move to center. This week at the Combine, Holmes essentially said the exact same thing. I think that's still a real option. Look, when we tried him out there early in camp, he wasn't doing anything wrong. We had to move him back. We just felt like where he was at that stage of his career, being a rookie, we felt right guard was just going to be a little bit more of an easier acclimation for him. And that Graham's previous experience at playing the position in our offense was a bit easier for him. So at that stage, we felt that it was the right thing. But there's still promise for Tate to move into that position. I think that's the beauty of it. It's that flexibility that we have. So whether we add guard, center, whatever, I think Tate will always be in the conversation. And, not for nothing, if you guys do recall, that was what we did with Frank Ragnow. He played guard his first year in the league and then transitioned to center. And I forgive me, I think Graham Glasgow was actually the center that he learned under. Graham's future in the Lions is most likely candidate to become a cap casualty, potentially freeing up $5.5 million in cap space as they part ways with the 33-year-old offensive lineman. Holmes didn't give a direct answer to Glasgow's future, which could also include retirement. But like with Decker, they're hoping for clarity by the start of the league year. He's still under contract. Again, at the start of the league year is a real date, so you want to have as much clarity as possible before then. So hopefully we get as much clarity as we can before then on Graham, Holmes said. Speaking of the center position, do we go free agency or do we go the draft? Again, getting some clarity on Graham would be wildly beneficial for speculation from my end of it. Quote, not just center, but offensive line, really both sides of the ball. Really, that's something that's not going to be ignored, Holmes said. Whether that's through free agency, through the draft, we'll definitely look at that. I want us to focus on that. That's something that's not going to be ignored. Not just center, but offensive line, really both sides of the ball. Really, that's something that's not going to be ignored. So, with Brad Holmes, guys, I think we have kind of found, and I do think that this will be proven with the future of David Montgomery. Okay. Brad Holmes said that one of the reasons why we hired Drew Petzing was during the interview process, he asked him what he could do with what was already there, meaning talent-wise, not adding players, not moving players, not what would we do at this position or that position, but this is what we have, and this is what we will have moving forward. Okay, so I don't expect a lot of movement there, up to and including retaining David Montgomery. Okay. And Brad Holmes says these small little things right there. What do we have here? So if we retain David Montgomery, I think that'll be an indicator of Brad Holmes telling us what was going to happen. Not just center, but offensive line, quote, really both sides of the ball. That's something that's not going to be ignored. I think Brad's telling us. Boys. I think we're getting a flashy defensive end in the draft, fellas. I think we're getting a defensive end round 1 or somebody in free agency better than, a big signing of a David or a Marcus Davenport. You know what I'm saying? I think Brad just told us we're getting a defensive end. I think we're going to finally answer that question. I think we're finally going to get a running mate to Hutch, and I think Brad just told us right there. Not just offensive center, but offensive line. Really both sides of the ball. Really, that's something that's not going to be ignored. Absolutely awesome. It's a very important position. You got to handle a lot of information that's regarding the center spot, and there's some rookies that have been able to handle it, but you just got to find the right one, Holmes said. And whether that's day 1 or day 2 or day 3, you just find the right one. It can, but obviously that really kind of obvious way is a player that's really done. It's done it already, give you a little bit more comfort. So kind of, that's really kind of, I think he's kind of hinting at veteran play over a rookie center. Again, I think, so look, again, this is just me speculating. I'm just a guy on the phone. Okay. It can be, but obviously the really kind of obvious way is a player that has done it already. It gives you a little bit more comfort regarding the center spot. So I do not think we go center day 1. In the draft. I don't think we even go center day 2, depending on who is there. Okay. He says that there are some guys that can do it, but it's more comfortable going with a veteran. So they want someone who's done it already. It will be a little bit of an easier transition period. And what that indicates to me is that based on what he said about the future of the offensive line right here, really both sides of the ball, I think he's saying we're going defensive end in the first round. We're going to get ourselves Keldrick Folk. I think Keldrick Folk is the man with the plan for Brad Holmes and company. I want me some Keldrick Folk. I want it. I need it. I need Keldrick Folk. That is the answer to our defensive end position opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I'm going to continue to beat this war drum until something comes out about him that he's a Jalen Carter slappy or something like that, okay? And then to say the center spot, it gives you a little bit more comfort with someone who's done it already. I think that means we're going defensive end round 1, left tackle round 2. So, guys, I think we're really going to see, look, dude, if this happens, if it ends up going this route, then for real, I deserve 1,000 subscribers. If we end up grabbing Folk and then Max Finkel-Einhorn rounds 1 and 2, not only with my 6'4", 238.3 pound ass going to do a standing backflip out of excitement, but I will be we will be set, locked, and loaded in the trenches for the next 3 to 5 years, just on talent alone between those two guys and the elevation that they bring to the existing talent in-house. Let's go! Can I get a like out of that, fellas? How do we feel about what Brad Holmes said? Boys and girls, let's go. Rakestraw has been hurt every year. Yeah, dude. Manu, injury really hurt. He's progressing, maybe not as fast as he looked, but better in games than practice. Gotcha. Last camp to prove themselves. Yeah, Brent, it is their last camp, dude. Going to be anything he needs to move to the right. Yeah, actually, Rick, I will raise you, dude. I think Giovanni Manu needs to play fullback. Dan Thornton says, inside source says we're going to trade for every single player. Oh, well, then his source is a fucking retard. Only Demo goes anywhere if this is his choice. Agreed. Yes, I agree. Brent Lighton, I agree. If Demo goes anywhere, it's Demo's decision. And I think he likes having the brotherly bond with Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? Because isn't Demo a brother to sisters? I don't think he has a brother. So there could be that, like, very, very tight-knit bond where he's like, fuck it, I'll just stay here hanging out with my boy. You know what I'm saying? Mike Washington Jr. is my hope we trade Monty. I hope we don't trade Monty. Culture Folks, Marcus Davenport on steroids, and he's only 20. Exactly, Brent. Exactly, dude. What I noticed, especially with Keldrick Folk, not only does he fit the build of what Marcus Davenport did, but we also had Michael Brockers for a while playing defensive end, and then we tried the very same thing with Levi Onwuzurike. They like that big-bodied defensive end that you can collapse the pocket into, almost like going from like a chart going. You know what I'm saying? They want to collapse the pocket all the way around, or they want to rush the edge with Hutch so that the quarterback then rolls to his blind side. Typically, it would be the left side into a wall of a human being, be it the build of a Marcus Davenport or a Keldrick Falk. That's why I'm super high on Keldrick Falk. People are like, oh, he can't rush the passer. That's fine. We don't need him to. Also, to your point, dude's only 25 years or 20 and a half years old, dude. You know what I'm saying, bro? Let's go, dude. Let's go. Turns a lose-lose, costs us dead money. Yep, total lose-lose, dude. Can't believe some people are predicting. Brent, yeah, there's no way we draft Zion Young. He's a fucking basket case. I think Max Finkel-Einhorn goes between 30 and 40. So, Brent, unfortunately, you probably are right because he is getting a little bit more hype around him. However, if we don't get Max Finkel-Einhorn, then there is still routes to go to victory in the second round. Jake Slaughter, Gunter Dunker, Jennings Dunker. You know what I'm saying? There's routes to be gone. When Decker gets injured 3/4 of the season, or at the end of the season, we haven't drafted a good tight replacement when we pass on center because Frank comes back. Brad Cook. Let's hope so. What's up, John? Good to see you, bro. Zion Young is a physical fit, but not a mental fit here. Yeah, Brent, he is what you look for in the build, but his brain is a pancake mix. You know what I'm saying? So we got 5 takeaways from Campbell's media session. 1, Petzing is the perfect fit. I've always liked Drew from afar, Campbell said. Through the years, what we do offensively, you've always liked it. There was creativity, and we're going to be versatile. He gives us that ability to make the most of what we are. He's only 38 years old, and under Arizona's head coach Jonathan Gannon the last 3 years, there's systemic elements to his offense that makes him a good fit in Detroit. Most importantly, his commitment to having a solid rushing attack. Petzing understands protection, has coached every offensive position group in the league. Campbell said he knew Petzing was going to be the guy within the first 20 minutes of the interview, as he loved Petzing's presence and detail in everything they talked about. That's what I love. I've seen the tape. I know what the tape is. I just think he's a creative guy and can make things happen. Tell me what I got, and I'll figure this out. I love that, Campbell said. Campbell also said he was fortunate to hire a pass game coordinator, Mike Kafka, who has already added some good ideas offensively. That's what I love to hear already. Defensive adjustments coming. Number 2, the defense coaching staff remained intact this offseason, led by Kelvin Shepard. With Petzing in place, Campbell really dedicated his time to sitting down with Shepard and the defensive coaching staff going play-by-play of the defensive performance this past season. There were some tweaks that will be made, but Campbell said he currently likes the flexibility of the scheme and the players within it. Quote, we just have to tighten the screws on a few things, but I love the staff and I love what we do. We've already been through the cut-ups. I thought that was a typo, but yeah, I guess that would just be cut-ups, right? It's not hyphenated. We've already been through the cut-ups. Like, if we could go back, maybe we would play a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this. I think there's a lot of clarity in some things, adjusting when we get a few injuries here and there. Detroit's finished last season 22nd points allowed. We know that. One thing Campbell said has been the focus this offseason on trying to continue to create and evolve more looks that they can throw at opposing offenses. Campbell described it as trying to figure out the first and second levels of the defense and getting a level 401 on defense. You're getting it to level 401 on defense in 2026. If we can do that and add a couple things, tweak a couple things, I love where we could go with this, he said. And number 3, offensive tackle is a priority. Campbell and Decker had a conversation at the end of the season about Decker taking his time with his retirement decision. If it's not Decker, well, we already know Decker's going to be back, so that's irrelevant. Joseph update, we already talked about that. And Mike Clark retiring. The team's director of sports performance in 2021 is calling it a career. Clark's career accolades include being a 3-time NFL Strength Coach of the Year and being inducted in the 2003 USA Weightlifting Hall of Fame as a coach. Clark has been in the business for 50 years and is well respected around the league circles. He's developed Detroit's strength and performance program since Campbell arrived in 2021. Now the team will turn to Josh Schuler, who will head the strength coach running that program moving forward. Schuler enters his 10th season with the team and 6th with the Lions head strength and conditioning coach. He's earned that and learned from Mike. Campbell said of Schuler, we're excited moving forward. Hopefully that helps with our injury situations. Not to take away from a USA weightlifting Hall of Famer, but something's going on in the Motor City that leads to a bunch of injuries. What do you guys think about that? How do you feel about Dan Campbell saying an awful lot by saying nothing at all and saying nothing at all while saying nothing at all? Still interviewed a bunch more guys and kept comparing them to Petzing. Yeah, Brent, I love that too. When I read that, I was like, that is super awesome. Problem is that offensive tackle class isn't great, but every one of them is a developmental player except Mayaoga. So with Decker back, we still need to take one. Well, I mean, I think Fano is ready to go. But to your point, it is a bunch of developmental players, but I think it's a bunch of really good developmental players that are worth a day 2 pick. You know what I'm saying, bro? I love that they love Petzing. Yep, me too, dude. Decker isn't going to retire. We don't draft tackle in the second round. And Frank does come back in this ultimate push for the Super Bowl. Call Brad Holmes and the Lions do or die. And Frank does come back. Like, and Frank? Wants to make his work. You draft a tackle early. You draft a center. Let Decker, Ragnarok start the season and rotate the rookies in the second half. Keep fresh, get experience. Fair enough. I like it. Sustain is getting the winning Super Bowls. Brad does this since he wants to let the old dogs come back. Yeah, we do need someone. I'm not an MSU fan, but Jeff Risdon turned me on to their center. Yeah, dude, their center's kind of been climbing up a little bit here or there. I don't know, man. You know, not for nothing, but we did sign Seth McLaughlin. Although he did rupture his Achilles his senior year at Ohio State, he still won the Remington Award. And, you know, didn't play it all this year, but made it through an entire season on the practice squad of Cincinnati. He is a pretty good player. I mean, you know, we do have him under contract now. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up, dude. We got 6 takeaways from Petzing and Kelvin Shepard at the NFL Combine, as we talked about yesterday. The coordinators did meet with the media, although it probably wasn't going to be recorded or televised. So defense coordinator Kelvin Shepard is going to take a different approach to self-scouting. Self-scouting is nothing new, and every team does it this offseason, but Lions coach Dan Campbell said that so far this offseason, he spent all of his time with the defense. Yeah, we talked about that. Quote, "It's what we normally do every year, but this year we've taken a different approach, so to say, with slowing that down," Shepard said. "What we've done is we're tearing off the Band-Aids, trying to look through every crack, crevice, to see where the good things were, the bad things were, and where we can improve as coaches, players in totality." 3rd and 10 defensive struggles. The first problem Shepard talked about was the team's immense struggles on 3rd and 10. The Lions gave up conversions on 28.8% of 3rd and 10 or more, the 3rd highest mark in football. But on 3rd and 9 or less, the Lions allowed a conversion rate of 42.5 at the 7th lowest rate. We were outstanding on 3rd down, but it was actually 3rd and plus. It's like we were in the bottom tier of the league in that category. We aren't executing, and when you turn on the tape, and it's very eye-opening to what's happening. It sounds easy, but it is. It's simple solutions, man. Shepard believed play calling was relatively good on 3rd and long, but he takes ownership in the fact that he didn't offer the players enough information to play good situational football. There are certain things that I obviously need to tag on calls, reminders given, things we need to emphasize in the offseason. Terms of situational awareness and how aggressively we play, Shepard said. I don't mean to say any one individual player, but there has been a few times on tape where you can see my guy, Thomas Harper, getting a little cooked in this coverage, but that is to be expected out of a very, very young player. Along the same lines of explosive play obsession, Shepard focused on explosive plays as another problem for last year. The Lions measures, which were 12 yards on the running plays and 17 on pass plays. The Lions gave up 105 explosive plays. Shepard not only remembered the exact number, but he knew the splits between passing plays, 82, and running plays of 23. Breaking down the explosive plays was the first thing they watched, but it's also going to be something they continue to watch this offseason. Quote, "It's the first thing we self-scouted." There was overlap because you go then doing a self-scout, and we're going to watch it again. And when the players come in phase 2, phase 3, guess what? I got 105 plays, and we're going to watch them again. And we get to training camp, and we need general reminders and subtle reminders of what we do in certain situations. We're going to watch them again. As for the problem with those plays, Shepard estimated 30 to 40% of those explosive plays had no business happening. And again, he took blame for not being detailed enough in his coaching, but said the team remained close in most of those situations. It's subtle things. It's not like mass overhaul of what we're totally out of the park, out of the realm of comprehension of what we're supposed to be doing, Shepard said. Kick it over to the offensive side of the ball. Drew Petzing said, don't expect a lot of 13 personnel in Detroit. This observation comes actually more of Campbell's press conference, from where he said Petzing in his time with the Cardinals, quote, they've used a lot of heavy sets lately, and that's where their roster has gone. That's not something I foresee for us. Wow, all right. Petzing reiterated their style will remain fluid depending on their roster, and that can change mid-season if necessary. I love it. I love it. That's what happens when you have two big brains working on the offensive side of the ball. We want our best 11 on the field. That can look a million different ways, and as you just talked about, that can change as the season goes. That can change as the offseason goes, Petzing said. That's a good indicator. Not pounding the table for his guys. Asked Petzing about his influence he's having over the player acquisition portion of the offseason. After all, it is his offense, and I can imagine he is having a bunch of ideas about the type of personnel he wants to operate his vision. While Petzing said he certainly offers thoughts when asked, he has a strong level of trust in GM Brad Holmes getting him all the talent he needs. His focus, rather, is on making sure the players he has in reach of their full potential. Quote, I'm going to voice my opinion, and we're going to be involved in those conversations. But those guys spend so much time making sure that we're bringing in the right people, the right culture fit, the right scheme fit. I see my job more as, once they're here, making sure that as we talked about, I've got to make sure they hit their ceiling. That's my number one job as a coordinator, Petzing said. That's what I love it. He's just going, hey! And that's an indicator of what Brad Holmes said. You know, hey, what can you do with what we've got? Not, he didn't answer it with, well, if you bring in this guy to do this and I want this guy. He just went, what is the problem? And what tools do I have at my disposal? Got it. Raj. Problem will be solved. Problem will be solved. If I need help, oh, would you look at this? You brought me in an equally skilled offensive passing game coordinator in Mike Kafka. Wow. My job just got infinitely easier. Hell yeah. As for the conversation with Holmes and Petzing, company are going. Petzing feels like the collaboration in Detroit is among the best he's seen. Collaboration is a buzzword around here for the right reason. It's important to our process and how we want to do things, and ultimately to get to that right answer in everything we do, Petzing said. Efficiency is the target moving forward, and this is what we'll end on. In a moment where I clearly saw the overlap with Campbell and Petzing was asked about how the team can stay efficient, and Petzing's answer reminded me of Campbell's very first press conference, where he emphasized that the team may throw the ball 50 times one game and run it 50 times another, if that's what that week's game plan called for. Here's what Petzing said, quote, there are games where I've gone into a game and said, hey, we got to stay on schedule, move the change, possess the ball, because the bat's the best way for us to win. There are other games where I've said, hey, we need to generate a ton of explosive plays, and that's how we're going to score points in the game, and that's how we're going to win the game. I think if you get into those I think if you're going to be dynamic as a team, as an offense, you can't lock yourself into this is the only way to be efficient, because there are going to be weeks and matchups where, hey, we may need to pivot or go a different direction or do things in a different way. I can see why Campbell wanted him to be the next offensive coordinator, and so can I. He has I think what you're getting with Lil Spud is the creativity and genius of a Mike McDaniel without the outward craziness of a Mike McDaniel. I think what you just heard right there is Drew Petzing is an incredibly analytical individual. And I also think that his job and Mike Kafka's jobs are infinitely easier with both of those guys in-house. You know what I'm saying, bro? That's how do we feel, Mad Hatter Nation? How do we feel about the coordinator press conferences? How do we feel about this moving forward? Do you guys feel like better now? Do we feel a little bit better knowing that Dan Campbell more or less brought in Lil Spud and Kafka so that Dan Campbell can go, take care of this. I'm going to help Shep. You know what I'm saying? Because it sounds like he's lending a little bit more time to the defense, a little bit more time to the development of Calvin Shepard, right? He brought in a head coach caliber offensive coordinator to be our passing game coordinator and assist Lil Spud. You know what I'm saying? I think it's solid, dude. I think it's solid, dude. Seth at center is a wild card. He was a first, second rounder before the Achilles. I know, dude. I know, Brent. That's why I was like, we got to remember, because he is exactly that. He is a wild card. Wild card, bitches! Yes. Hearing for Young is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. at the Boone County Courthouse. This will be a story at the Combine. They never released his blood alcohol. Fuck him, dude. I don't want nothing to do with Zion Young. As close to sober versus extremely drunk, it will matter a lot. Maybe to some people, but not to me. I better stop putting Aleem on the edge. Failed experiment. We need to push him up the middle. 100% Brent DeWitt. I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. Please note Young, mentally not a good fit. 100%, Mom. 100%. Does not having heavy sets mean Manu will be taking over Skipper's role? Jack, that is a good question and way too far down the line for me to be able to speculate on. Possibly, yes. I think he does offer the athletic profile to be able to do the Dan Skipper jumbo tight end position, what I call the biggest troll in the NFL. But if we draft a tackle in rounds 2, or we get back up into rounds 3, and that individual is more of a developmental player, farther along the line, and equally as talented as far as versatility and physicality as a Giovanni Manu, then probably you'll see a little bit more of a fade from Manu and a little bit more into the flashy new toy. Pure speculation at this point, though. You know what I'm saying? Watch the right side of both sides of the line this season. I hope that I think that Ratledge should ascend playing next to Penne. We know that mathematically everyone who plays next to Penne plays better. Penei Sewell is graded out as one of the top 3 players in the NFL at any position, was snubbed from the Potty Award. And I think you're going to see Penei Sewell, who even though he played down in everyone's eyes, still was one of the best and most dominant players in all of football. I think next year you're going to see a healthy and really pissed off Penei Sewell. And I think between him, Ratledge entering his second year, I think you're going to see a really, really, really nasty, mean right side of Detroit's offensive line, dude. I think they're going to be really, really just some bad mama jammas, dude. We're going to have some bad mama jammas over there, brother. You know what I'm saying? Google Megamind and you will see Drew Petzing. Awesome, dude. That's fucking awesome, guys. Well, we have just eclipsed the 1 hour mark of the show. I want to say thank you for each and every one of you who hung out today. To reminder, tomorrow we will be prepping for the Combine as that kicks off tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. NFL Combine. Do have to work today, tomorrow, and Friday, so I won't be able to watch much of it, but we'll catch the highlights Saturday and Sunday, though. Sunday is the glory day, watching the old big boys romping and rolling out there. We're going to keep our eye on some players. Going to be scoping it out, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to that notification bell on. Slap the like button on your way out the door. Share this around with all of your friends. I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Until next time, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Bonga bonga. Frig off.